2016. But I'm here seeking a signed resolution for our Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program, referred to as FHP. With that program, we assist families who are homeless or facing homelessness or housing crisis with a one-time assistance of stabilizing their housing. For instance, if somebody is homeless and has housing, wants help with a damage deposit or first month's rent to stabilize themselves moving forward, we could assist with these FHP, Family Homeless Prevention Funds, in that aspect. If they are stably housed but facing eviction and maybe a back grant, these funds would help them stabilize to be caught up on their rent moving forward. We require that they have income. It's a one-time assistance program, kind of a gap assistance program. We do work in conjunction with social services and their emergency assistance funding as well. So that sometimes when we seek out the resolution at commissioners, they'll say, well, our social service agencies have similar funding with emergency assistance. And that is indeed accurate. What we have found, this is our 16th year seeking this funding. It's a 2-year grant. What we find is that we end up partnering with social services a lot. Some families come in and the need is greater than maybe one of us could do it alone. And so we will use funds in conjunction with one another. Just like social services, emergency assistance has a cap, a maximum that families can tap into for this type of help, so do we. So families can use up to $1,000 one time in 18 months for assistance in stabilizing housing. We require a balanced budget, income, case management services to try to make sure that moving forward they don't have any barriers that are going to keep this from occurring again. We are seeking in the resolution $1 million. Last 2 years ago when we wrote this grant, we wrote for $854,000, but we are taking on a sub-grantee out in Chippewa and Yellow Medicine counties will be the lead grantee. So we're seeking more funding in that area. Plus we know that the need for housing is rising, the cost of affordable housing is going up, and so the need sometimes is greater than we've seen in the past. This will be a 2-year grant running from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th of 2021 is what we're seeking. Questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Not that it matters, but who's writing or who's giving you the grant, or where do you write it through?
HUD.
It's through HUD?
It is. Yep. Good question. Yep.
All right. Any other questions for Heather?
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the resolution 19 CB 23.
Motion by Commissioner Polmeyer. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
One more question are you seeking resolutions from all the participating counties, and is that going on your grant writing, or I mean, is that how you're pushing the grant forward, lack of a better word? But
Absolutely, yep. We're seeking a resolution from all of the 19 counties. Our grant does require that we have support of the county, or from all 19 counties that we're writing this funding in for. And I should say too that the funding is not split by population or anything like that. It is evenly split throughout the 19 counties that we get. So residents in McLeod County would receive the same amount as in any other county that we're seeking as well.
Thank you.
Yep.
Commissioner Szymanski.
All right, Ms. Jeser, is there any local matching dollars required of the counties, or is it the match coming through the Community Action Agency?
There are some matching funds that we do want, but none of it is the county's responsibility. So other than just your backing and support of us having this funding to use, there's no financial liability or responsibility on behalf of the county.
Right. So much the better.
We would seek that matching dollars elsewhere.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have
Good
a
luck.
great day.
Cindy, I'm open to suggestions,
Yep.
but I was thinking about taking item 8 and just moving on with that. Is that right?
I would hold off on that one because it's a public viewing of the plans for the new building, so I'd like to wait until we get closer. But why don't we take administration?
All right, we'll review our calendars.
I was prepared for you, Joe. Since our last meeting on the 2nd, we continued the day with Student Government Day, and I've heard good comments back from students and some of the adults that were involved in Student Government Day. Thought it was very good, informative, and we may be scared a few people away on how much county government takes care of, but I think it was good for everyone to learn that. On the 8th, we had a redetermination of benefits hearing on county ditches 16, 21, 40, and JD 9. On the 9th, met with McLeod discussing long-term planning and economic development for the county, where we will go and what we may or may not do. On the 10th, I attended the Pact for Families collaborative meeting in Litchfield. Informative meeting, very low attendance that day. That was the first day of the snowstorm from last week, and was a quite eventful ride coming home from Litchfield. So that brings me up to today.
Okay, I had a couple meetings on MRF issues. I attended the Stewart City Council meeting, and Rich mentioned our luncheon with the Made in McLeod bunch, ditch system 16, 21, 40, and 9. I attended a workshop or forum that was hosted by members of Congress Tina Smith and Colin Peterson in regards to the Farm Bill and specifically the dairy portion that was up in Meeker County. Very interesting event. At least a couple dozen individuals from the leading ag financial institutions attended, and there's a lot of other farmers and agribusinessmen in the crowd as well. The discussion was about why is it taking as long as it is to get this the new Farm Bill implemented, and the continued damages to the dairy industry. And it didn't take long before the conversation also went to other sectors of ag that are not doing very well. And from the comments around the room, about half of those from the financial institutions assume that we've got about 1 year left, and all of the grain producing regions of the country will be in the same situation as dairy, and the other half said that we're already there. And so that was interesting to hear feedback from all those groups. And this goes a lot deeper than just the impact of what's happening on farm. It's the agribusiness and the manufacturing that's tied to those markets as well. If we go to the city of Benson, where they make all the cotton pickers and sprayers for Case IH, if we go to Jackson, where AGCO has their very large manufacturing plant, there's an awful lot of rural Minnesota jobs that are tied to the stability of the agricultural economy. And so it's definitely a trying time for ag, and in listening to that group, the common denominator, what seems to be our problem with our price structure, is our inability to compete within that global marketplace. So hopefully that gets straightened out soon. Thanks.
All right, since the last meeting, we had, again, Student Government Day. Thank you to all the staff that put effort into that. It was very well attended, and it was a very productive day for the students, and lots of good feedback. Had a Trailblazer meeting. It was a off-calendar meeting regarding some MnDOT funding that became available and how we would want to allocate that. So we had that on the 4th, I believe it was. The ditch meeting was mentioned with several ditch systems that were reviewed. The Made in McLeod meeting was also mentioned, and in just a little bit, we'll speak about this, but Commissioner Kruger and I conducted some interviews for an appointment on the Buffalo Creek watershed yesterday. We had 3 excellent candidates, and we'll cover the appointment and the recommendation here in a little bit.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Since our last board meeting, I also enjoyed participating in the Student Government Day here at the courthouse, and having the students here from around the county. It was very good. On Friday, the 5th of April, we had the Mental Health Local Advisory Committee met over at the Solid Waste Facility in Hutchinson, and we are seeing some staffing changes occurring in that committee, and we hope that in the future we do as well as we have in the past. So then on Monday, I attended a finance committee meeting for a Supporting Hands Nurse Family Partnership. Our committee was building the budget for Supporting Hands for next year, 2020, and things are looking good in that area. And services are increasing, taking care of more of these first-time mothers who need some assistance getting on their feet. On the 8th, I attended the public hearing on the redetermination of benefits for ditches 16, 21, 40, and JD 9. That went very well. We approved the redeterminations there, increasing the values accessible for ditch maintenance on those ditches. On the 9th, we had the meeting with the Made in McLeod group, and that was a very informative meeting. Helps us to understand, some of their perspective and where we can kind of fill in some of the gaps for the businesses operating and attracting more businesses to McLeod County. Yesterday, my wife and I were invited to Nuss Trucking in Burnsville. We had an opportunity to participate in President Trump's roundtable discussion on economics and taxes. President Trump was very encouraging about agriculture in particular. He said the deals are coming together and we should see turnaround in the near future in a lot of our trade negotiations. And he did emphasize repeatedly that for decades the United States trade deals have always been to the disadvantage of the American industries, and they're working to rectify that and bring things back into normal order. So that is it for my travels, Mr. Chairman.
Doug?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I forgot my long written calendar, so it's maybe a good thing, but we'll rough it through here. I did, on the 3rd, we had a MRF meeting going through some of our issues that was already addressed in the agenda. On the 4th, I had Trailblazer, and then in that afternoon, I got to do an architectural review with the department heads on our plans for the new government center, which some of that will be addressed here in a little bit. On the 5th, on Friday, I attended the Southwest Corridor Transportation Coalition, which is 212. We had a good meeting with representation from the governor's office and from the Met Council and a few of the surrounding suburban mayors. I had a couple ditch meetings that were already covered from the other commissioners. On the 10th, I had a North Fork Crow board meeting, or I guess correctly would be the Crow Joint Powers Board meeting. In that, we are discussing the closing down of the Crow. There'll be a resolution coming forward. This will be the last year for the Crow. The One Watershed, One Plan is pretty much encompassing everything that was done by the Crow, and now offline of that, our attentions need to focus on the South Fork and the Buffalo Creek watershed area here, because the One Watershed, One Plan is eyeballing that for another One Watershed, One Plan. Yesterday, the 15th, I had an MRC board meeting, which was quite lengthy on trying to figure out our legislative proposals, if you will, or the encouragements on how to proceed and what to support on the governor's budget. Obviously, the gas tax is quite controversial, so that took quite a bit of that meeting, and then obviously we're trying to figure out broadband and a few other things that are being tossed around in the legislature. And that I also participated on the 15th in our interview for a new appointee to the Crow, or to the North Fork watershed, Buffalo Creek watershed. I'm sorry, I'll get it here. But there'll be a new manager there, and that brings us up to today.
Cindy, anything to add?
No, thank you. I do not have anything to add.
Okay.
Ryan is here. Ryan Freitag is here. So
Well, we've been waiting for him, so. Come on up, Ryan.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you. I'm here to talk about, for Morningside project, there is some wetlands that will be filled in order to complete that project. Majority of those wetlands that are going to be filled will be covered by the state of Minnesota.
Ryan, can you pull your mic up just a little bit
sorry
more?
about that. Will be mitigated through the state of Minnesota road banking program. The area to the south that is not part of the new construction or the roundabout construction was actually the HRA wetland mitigation when the HRA homes went in. So they're proposing to fill 0.0849 acres, and at a 2-to-1 replacement would need to replace 0.1698 acres in order to complete the Morningside project. John did inform me that this is state aid eligible, and it will be split between the county and the city for the purchase of these credits.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Is that the only wetland mitigation we have on the Morningside project? I thought there was some on the road too, or is this?
There are other mitigations, but that's covered by the state of Minnesota road bank program.
Okay.
So the county does not have to pay for that. The state automatically replaces those wetlands.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? Ron, do you have something?
No, Mr. Chairman, other than, you know, in the scope of a road project, this is, you know, just a few dollars apparently, but it just kind of irritates me at the cost of the wetland replacement acres.
Yes,
It's extremely high.
And I know there's been talk of others that are looking to start a bank, but we have none available in McLeod County, which drives the cost up.
Would I be barred from participating?
No, you'd be able to participate.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Probably a conversation for another day, but you're right, there's the wetland credits program, as you well know, there's short of acres, and to me, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, if you will, that to get eligible for these programs when we have wetlands right close by, but again, this is unnecessary evil, so.
Yes, and we are up in Acoma Township, we do have a road bank, or wetland road bank easement going in, hopefully construction this summer. So these credits actually will be replaced in McLeod County.
Oh, good. Is there any other landowners or anybody else pursuing jumping through the hoops to get any wetland acres available?
We've had some discussions, but nobody has signed an application or actually submitted the paperwork for it.
It's really something to look at. I mean, if anybody gets, I know there's one going in Sibley County, but.
Yep.
So I was involved in somebody looking at this in the past, and the requirements are quite steep, and that's the ridiculousness of it, is that it's just so hard to get them, and then have to turn around and have to buy them for this amount of money. So.
And once you get them, I mean, they're so valuable, and then they shop them out for the, you know, because of all the hoops and regulations you got to go through, they shop them out to the highest bidder, which can get quite high.
Most definitely.
So Ron hasn't figured out that we're going to spend $3.60 a square foot for this. So what's the pleasure of the board?
What's a necessary evil, so I move to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Wright, any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Auditor Treasurer. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone. So today I'm here to talk about redetermination on CD 28 and also CD 11. We did have landowner meetings in March, which were fairly well attended, and those landowners did indicate that they are interested in redetermination.
We'll do one at a time. Mr. Chair, I would move to approve number 28.
A second.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Polmeyer.
Do we need to identify the viewers in that motion or no?
A separate motion,
Yeah, we'll
please.
do that separately.
Okay.
So this will be for the approval of the redetermination of benefits for County Ditch 28. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. So now we can appoint the viewers for 28.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we appoint Ron Whitechrist from Redwood Falls, John Delato from Scandia, Brad Wick from Hutchinson, Alan Kerber from Arlington, and I believe the lead viewer is Joe Jacobs from Minnetonka.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger, second by Commissioner Szymanski to appoint the viewers. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, item B, which is County Ditch 11.
Mr. Chair, I move the approval of redetermination of benefits for County Ditch number 11.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Connie, we had also talked with the landowners along JD 11. Will that be a separate consideration at some future date? Or?
That we actually brought to that joint board on when we had our joint meeting. So that one is approved, right?
So that was approved at the joint board meeting level. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And the viewers?
Mr. Chair, I move the appointment of the viewers, including Rehnquist, Redwood Falls, DeTolo, Scandia, Brad Wick from Hutchinson, Kerber from Arlington, and Jacobs from Minnetonka.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Kruger. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. You want to wait till 9:45,
No,
right?
we can take them.
Okay, all right. Presentation regarding the Government Center.
Your monitors went offline, so if you want to just touch the button on the right-hand side.
Morning, gentlemen. Morning. Floor is yours.
Morning.
Okay, so here's an update. It was an update.
Yeah. Why don't you guys, since this is out in the public, why don't you introduce yourselves and your firm and everything? And then you're going to just do the best you can with those mics too, okay?
Patrick Voss with ISG.
I'm Brian Paulson, architect, ISG.
All right. Thank you.
So we'll go through the site work here briefly, and then we'll get into the floor plan layout. So this is the existing drawing of the facility and the adjacent properties. We'll also show the floor plan, the newly proposed site. This does include the upgraded pond that we had added. This is due to the additional impervious pavement for the parking lot structure. If you wanted to reference this and then overlay, comparing it to the existing, here's an illustration of that, and of which includes removing, all the homes, the residential homes that have been purchased, and that storage facility that Young Klaus had added. Any questions on the site work specifically?
I do have one question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I was going to try to get a hold of you guys a little sooner, but is in expanding the size of that pond, is that cheaper, or is that the better way to go than there's some things you can do with the parking lot to make them absorb the moisture? I mean, there's some work that can be done. You probably know that better than me, but is this the better way and the more frugal way? I hate to say frugal, but I want to get the right thing done, but is it the better way to do it?
Well, we looked at a couple of options. One would be you can look at some sort of a paver system that would become a pervious paver system, which is relatively expensive to accommodate the amount of storage we need to accommodate. We could look at storage under the parking lot, tanks under the parking lot, which is considerably more expensive. So our civil engineers, in their evaluation, this is the most cost-effective solution because the pond's already there and it's fairly easy to expand the pond. It'd be different if we needed that property for another use, but you know, the pond was actually, I think it was probably intended to be added on to at some future point because of the amount of area around it allowed it to grow. So I think, you know, there's other things we could do, but I don't think you're going to get enough collection. We could look at rain gardens that could be part of the islands. If you look on the plan, you can see those little islands, and we could do rain gardens there that allows the water to flow into the rain gardens as a way to control the flow. But they do become a maintenance concern.
How much percentage or how big or how much of a increase in size is it of that one that's existing there?
I can get you
just,
this.
I mean, I'm not going to hold you to it. I just.
Yeah, I would say it's about probably close to 40% larger.
Okay, and with that, I can't tell by the overlay on the screen, but with that enlargement, does that cause it, does that make it mandatory to remove that storage unit building for the old shop?
No, the storage building is being removed to add additional parking.
Mm-hmm. So but the pond does not get it.
The pond expansion does not impact the storage building.
Very good. I just had known, I had some calls and actually from contractors and different people that say there's other ways to handle that water. I mean, they get, you know, which is above my pay grade, but different deals where you can tile underneath and tile to these ponds and do a release and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, I guess I'm looking for, my questions are because I'd like to make sure it's right, but then yet not. And from what you explained to me, this is probably the cost efficient and best way to do it.
It'd be different if we had to completely excavate a new pond. We'd be looking at some other alternatives. Even if we looked at the rain garden concept, we would still have to expand the pond because the amount of area that you would design the rain gardens for would not be able to accommodate the additional pervious area.
Very good, thank you.
Just one other comment on the site. You can see we also added the sidewalk right off of Chandler. We added that as a result of looking at accommodating the inspections for vehicles on Chandler. And we will be working in the next phase of the project on an updated landscape plan and hardscape plan. As the project develops, we're still at a fairly early design phase here. And then you can also see the handicap parking stalls that are on the east side of the building. That's going to be the employee staff entrance. There will be a ramp there yet because there's some grade changes between the main level of the building and the parking area. So there will be some ramping that'll go on there to accommodate handicap accessibility.
Mr. Chair? Yes. I do have another quick question on that. We've had plenty of discussions on why we're doing that, and we don't have to get into that right now, on that west side there, to make that, be able to have a semi-communal road. But there is lighting in there that's existing. Does that belong to the city, or does that belong to the building or the state, or who actually owns them light fixtures along the street there?
Do you remember that conversation, Pat?
I don't. My guess would be is that it belongs to
city.
The city is what I was going to guess.
Okay, that would be my preference rather than the state too.
All right. Any other questions on the site? Otherwise, we'll move on.
Just a quick reference, how many parking spaces will there be in total in this plan?
I believe it's about 270 in that.
270?
In that range.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, if you now are looking at the first floor plan, and you'll have to follow the cursor as we kind of walk through the building. I don't know if you have the cursor on your screen or not. Okay. You can see where the primary entrance is, and nothing's really changed from that. We are shifting it over a little bit from where it originally was. Part of our intent would be to replace the red glazing on that curved curtain wall. So that is your primary public entrance with a lobby area that becomes central to all of the other departments. On the east side of the building is recorder, auditor, and treasurer. We've worked fairly closely with them to get the space to function and flow the way they wanted, specifically thinking about sight lines from the offices to the front counters so they can provide support. All the partitions and workstations in the middle would be lower level or lower height partitions, so one can look over the top of them to be able to see the different stations for public. We kind of looked at it, you can see it's sort of a sawtooth kind of a layout for the counter area versus maybe a long straight one, or a long straight counter. Probably more so about trying to maintain some privacy and keeping our HIPAA regulations intact. We do have some growth built into it. You can see on the far right side there is some future growth. We have growth already built into the program, but this is some additional space that became available, so we identified it as growth. And if you've been involved in the planning of or in discussions, the whole intent here is to provide large open space, flexible open space, and we have private and public meeting rooms or conference rooms scattered throughout the facility. So there are public access conference rooms off the public waiting areas, and then there are also small conference meeting spaces within the staff areas. So as you look through the plan, you're going to see you may think about, well, gee, there's a lot of meeting spaces, but there's a lot of meetings that go on, and specifically staff meetings and meetings that are one-on-one or two-on-two meetings that we need to accommodate.
Mr. Chair.
Was there a question?
Brian.
Yes.
Just looking at the auditor treasurer's area and the license counters, is there a working space for state employees with the Department of Motor Vehicles that when they come in and do licensing or
yes,
yes, examinations and things?
I'll take that quick. So when the state examiners come in, they will use one of the rooms that are to the left of the boardroom for their testing and for meeting with their people. So you don't need to have a workstation for them at the License Center area. Okay. They're independent of the two.
All right, thank you.
As you continue through the plan, we are reusing some restrooms that were there. We're reusing the elevator, which is right south of the existing restrooms. And then we backed those new restrooms up to the back side of the existing restrooms. So we're trying to keep our plumbing cores together. Then immediately to the north of the restrooms is the administration area. So they have direct access to the boardroom and to the large meeting spaces, but also have access to the rest of the staff from the secure side of the building. Again, part of this project was to create security for the staff. So there is, I guess I'll call it the sort of secure backside of the building, and then there's the public access side. We have Soil Water Conservation District is on the first level. They have a small little suite of offices, And everything else to the north is really storage, shared storage or humidity-controlled storage. There is a new staff entrance that we had identified on the site plan where we had shown the handicap parking. So there is a new entrance, a new vestibule with a stair immediately to the north of that, which is our required second exit off the second floor of the building, which you'll see once you see the second floor. So that is our primary second exit out of the building. There is a large shared break room that is somewhat centrally located into the building. It seats 49 seats. It has a vending area. It also has several refrigerators, several microwaves, and sink, dishwasher. Does not have any stove or cooktop function to it. And then it also provides its own separate access. So if you are going to be hosting an event in the large training room, that access serves as a second exit, but also serves as an access for caterers to come in if you're going to hold a large event in the training room or the boardroom. As you can see, we broke the training room and boardroom into 3 components, 3 bays. The large boardroom arrangement. We worked hard on getting an arrangement that provided the right sight lines for you board members as well as the staff that would be attending the board meetings. It is an elevated area, much like you're sitting on now, with one handicap ramp on one side and a step up on the other. It wouldn't be as tall as this is. It's one step up, so it'd be 7 inches, but it is elevated.
Can you go over, how do you envision like the presentation piece of it? It's often awkward with just one podium. Have you got into that yet or not? Yeah, well, the wall to the, where the VA or VSO offices, that's going to be a large presentation wall. Okay. And we have monitors. And there are monitors that would be sort of on the sides. In this particular case, with your arrangement, there would be one up on the left and one up on the right. Okay. And we're assuming you'd all have monitors like you have now. And then how about for the public? Just one podium, or do you have a staff podium and a? There's a staff and there's, we haven't really designated who's who on each side. There's 2 different ones. Right. Okay. Right. So there'd be, that's what those wings are. Those wings are for staff and for public. Very good. Thank you. The partition system, what we're looking at right now is a vertical wall partition instead of a horizontal wall like you have back here. It allows us to stack the panels up above the ceiling. So we'll be working with a vendor on that. So you don't see the panels stacking on the walls. If you're familiar with this type of system, they take up a lot of wall space. So I broke it into 3 modules, and we're just showing different seating configurations. All the furniture would be movable for a variety of different configurations, either training layout or a boardroom layout or large conference layout. And then directly outside of that, we have some more of the smaller interview conference rooms that would be accessible for the public to use. The board workroom has its own access directly into the boardroom as well. And we accommodated some AV storage. That lock storage area, that is going to be for the ballot counters. They can be wheeled in and locked in that location. We also added some carrels for public to use if they need to fill out some paperwork or any other confidential information. They have the ability to use one of those carrels, or just to access the county network.
VSO was Veteran Services was adjacent to the front door. They do run some different hours sometimes, so we have to, they're open on weekends, I think it was Saturdays, and they run till maybe 7 at night, some evenings. So we do have to still think about how we can secure the rest of the building down when they're operational. But I think the way it's set up with our lobby space and the security that we have for all the various departments, it should work out just fine. As you move further north, we get into more of the, I guess I'm going to call it all storage, pretty flexible storage space right now. We have a large file system we're going to reuse, which you can see under that miscellaneous storage, going right in that location. They're also, again, we're showing some walls. We're still working through some of the kind of equipment that's going to be in the storage rooms, the type of shelving. But we've scattered these large storage rooms about on the first floor, and there's some on the second floor as well. The area to the north of the storage is kind of central services. This is Scott's area, mail room, kind of workroom for him, some of his staff. There's an overhead door that comes into that room now. There's an exterior door. So all deliveries would come in there. We're specifically thinking more paper products and office supplies would come in there. There'd be a series of racks and shelving to store the inventory. And then there'd be a small office. And then immediately to the north of that area would be the Public Works area that at this particular time it's pretty much staying as is. There's a wash bay. You can see with the rectangle with the X in it, that's a wash bay. And they're going to be able to park their trucks in there. And there is a small crew room right up kind of in the middle. It's kind of an open space right now. We will rough in some plumbing into it, so there is ability to add toilets in that room right to the left of the janitorial room. And so there's room to add some toilets. Otherwise, it would be pretty much a place for them to hang out, picnic table, maybe a refrigerator, something like that in there. Any questions? First floor.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Brian, the staff lunchroom, for lack of a better description, that you said it holds about 49 people. Is there any potential that if we needed to expand it, could we go into that storage area?
You could.
If you ever needed more room, but.
Yeah, it's the building, if everybody were to be there at one time, if all staff were to be there at one time, it's about 150 staff.
Okay.
If they're there all at the same time. Obviously, it would be hard to design a cafeteria. It almost become a cafeteria then. Sure. If you're going to accommodate that quantity of people. So we tried to hit somewhere between a third and 50% seating, and this sort of became our sweet spot at about 49.
Okay. All right. And there will be, you know, you said there's no cooktop or anything in there, but if there's a potluck and everybody needs to plug in their appliances, there's plenty of power supply in there.
We've talked many times with our electrical engineers about that there will be several crock pots, and so we need enough juice in there to not pop breakers. And that's why you see a lot of countertop space too, specifically next to the refrigerators. There's a lot of countertop area there to plug in. And they could also use, if they had to, they could use some of the tables in there as well.
Do the refrigerators also include freezer units on them? Or do you have your, I like ice cream, so.
Haven't gotten to that level of detail, but I don't know how many refrigerator or freezers you need. But
all right. A little freezer, please. So, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have one question for you, Brian and Pat. On the main entry?
Yes.
And we're aware that the Veteran Service has some different hours. Is the balance of that entry going to be somewhat secured, so when they're on those off normal hours, that someone couldn't come in and run all the way across the public area, or is that not considered an issue?
Well, we'll have to think about that. Right now, there is no point of control, I guess.
Okay.
So,
Mr. Chair, if I may, Brian, so all the after-hours visits that the VSO office has have to be by appointment only.
Okay.
So they will let them in, the doors won't be open.
Okay.
So they physically let the
And that would,
customer in,
Okay.
the client into the building.
that pretty well answers my question then.
and we do have to maintain access to those restrooms too, so they'll have to be escorted.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Brian, that kind of tweaked the other question is, will there be security gates over the customer counter areas?
Yeah, we'll be
to
looking
the
at
auditors?
some way to secure those spaces.
Okay. So that nobody could just hop over a counter and get
Right.
back into those areas. All right, thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Where are we in the whole scheme of things? I mean, when will we be able to start actually physically doing some work? I mean, when were we able to go out for bids and?
Right now, our schedule is, we're gonna have our construction drawings done in July.
Yep.
July
12th.
July 12th.
The week after the 4th.
Okay. And then what's the process after that? I mean, is that?
Contegrity will get subcontractor bids, and
Okay.
then we'll have a bid evaluation and award, and I'm speaking for Sam.
Well, Sam's here, so he's pretty good at speaking for himself.
Am I doing all right, Sam? All right. And then from that point on, then we'd start construction.
I'm just trying to get a little bit of a timeline,
Yep.
because that's the questions that I'm getting, so might as well pass
Okay.
them on.
July 12th.
Should we look at the second floor? Are you ready to go to that?
Second floor, so you can see we've added that big new kind of grand stair that goes up through the rotunda, and with the clear story windows above. So our whole intent was to maintain that space and not fill it in. And so that light kind of filters down into that lobby. I think it'll be really, really great space, as well as the area on the second floor. So in this particular plan, it's well, Public Health and Health and Human Services. And so as you ascend the stairs, you come up into the lobby space, which is identified with a group of chairs in the middle, and Health and Human Services social work is everything to the east, and public health is everything to the west, and that kind of purple area is WIC. They wanted to be a little bit more separated. They have a lot of young families, and they wanted to be a little bit more separated from the waiting area. There's maybe a little bit more confidentiality that goes on there. So we created a separate small suite for WIC that has its own private entrance. And everything else to the south of that is all the public meeting rooms for staff to use to meet with public. We did add another large meeting room on this floor, which you can see. That has a capacity of 30 or 40, has a capacity of 40 people right now. We got to check the building code on that, because we may have to have a second exit, so that might change that room a little bit. But so that plan, it worked out pretty well. The way the public It doesn't meander maybe as much as the first floor. It's very controlled and very concise, with controlled access to departments on the east and west side. We spent a lot of time working through these departments as well. The whole notion here is to get the offices in the middle. As you can see, the banks have offices in the middle, and provide the daylighting for the staff that are working in the workstations to be able to enjoy the daylighting space. We do have some telecommuter space. This is this specific department or departments have a lot of telecommuters, so that's what is identified where the cursor is now. They're not full workstations, they're drop-in space. You can come in, you can log in, take care of your business, take your briefcase or your laptop and get on the road. So they're not dedicated to a specific employee. They're flexible space that anybody can use that has access to this floor for both public health and for health and human services. As you go further north, this is where we put IT. As you know, we're moving the data center over. So the data center is a pretty good sized room. They need about a 24 by 24 foot room with a bench and work area for their staff, and then some workstations and an office for their manager. That is the stair, the new stair that we added. That's our second exit off of the second floor. That goes directly down to the exit door to the east. So that is a required exit. We also captured a little bit of mechanical room space up there. There's boilers? Mm-hmm. Yeah, boilers in that room that were there already. So we've added that as a mechanical. Then we threw in a little bit of storage up here as well.
All right, any questions on the second floor?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Brian, have you had the opportunity to calculate the square footage of how much new second floor decking you'll have to build in the project?
I haven't, but Sam may have because he did an estimate.
13,688 square feet.
Okay.
So Sam,
Yeah, just a rough estimate. That's fine. Thank you. And the number
I knew
again,
you would
Sam?
know that number.
For those that didn't hear it over the microphone, how many? 13,000? 688 square feet. Okay. All right. And that again is going to be supported on steel bar joists with a concrete deck?
Steel beams, columns, bar joists.
Okay. And I'm kind of visualizing on the floor plan here, there will be some support columns installed. Are they the little dark gray boxes that we see in the drawings?
The squares are the existing.
Okay.
So we're still working out the floor framing plan, but there will be, like in this particular floor, you can see the small little squares.
Okay. Sure.
Are the new columns.
Okay. Got it.
The big squares that are grayed out or dark, those are concrete.
Okay.
Precast concrete, that's why they're so large.
Okay.
We're going to a steel column,
Right.
so significantly less in size.
And most of those supports will be hidden in walls?
Yeah,
and
most of
things.
them will be, almost all of them will be in walls.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
all right. Any questions from the board? Anything else, gentlemen, you want to go over right now? I think we see you in a workshop here in a little bit, right?
The only other thing I could add is we're in the process of evaluating adding some windows.
Okay.
So we've conceptually have added windows in the plan that Sam is working on some budget numbers on, specifically on the east side of the building. There are a fair amount of windows on the west side, but we'll be adding a few more as well.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
That helped get it out to the public. We've been at it for a while. Let's take 5 minutes and then reset. Liz, can you get the screen up for us. Well, I don't think we need it for anything else, but we'll recess for 5 minutes. Meeting back to order. Thank you for the break. We are under County Administration, item A, consideration of appointment to the Buffalo Creek Watershed Manager position. As I mentioned in our calendars, Commissioner Kruger and I conducted interviews yesterday with 3 applicants, Tom Huser, Chad Stewie, and Corey Hankey. They were all excellent candidates. We posted it in the paper. That's where the letters of interest drove from, and we wanted to take some extra time. The Buffalo Creek Watershed does have levying authority, so it is even a step above typical appointments that the county board would make. So with that, unless Commissioner Kruger wants to add anything, the recommendation from that committee was to appoint Chad Stewie to the Buffalo Creek Watershed.
No, Mr. Chair, I don't have anything else. I will make that a motion, though.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second? I'll second it. Is there any discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Just for clarification, as a Buffalo Creek Watershed Manager, is this on equal par with other watershed board members, or is this a lead position?
Doug?
Good question, Commissioner. I don't guess it's a lead position. It's a little different from some of our other committees, but no, it's just a appointment to the manager. I believe they do their own structure within their board.
How many managers are there? Is it 3 or 5? 5? Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item B. Cindy, you want to just start taking
I can take the rest of the agenda, thank you.
Yep.
Item B is to consider approval of out-of-state travel for 2 commissioners and 1 staff person to attend the 2019 annual Minnesota Transportation Alliance out in Washington, D.C. This fly-in would be June 18th through the 20th.
All right.
I'm a strong supporter of sending board members and staff to events like this. I'll make a motion to approve.
And I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Wright, second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
my comment, Commissioner Nagel and myself and John Bronkhorst were out there last year. These aren't always my cup of tea, but we've been pushing really hard on Highway 212, and it seems to be making some difference. And I've been working together with the Transportation Alliance and Carver County, and they strongly recommend that we come out there. We have some new congressmen again, and they strongly recommend that we go out there. And we pretty much, our plans are again to do it like we did last year. We pretty much get into our business and get out. So that's all I have to say, Mr. Chair.
All right. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Can we anticipate that we'll have a very thorough report from our commissioners upon their return?
Yeah.
Yes, we will, Joe.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I did hear that MnDOT was unhappy about the process, so our representation must be actually working.
Oh. Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item C, accept letter of retirement from myself, County Administrator Cindy Ford, dated April 2nd, 2019. You just need to take official action on that.
Mike, anything to add?
No, but I can add something after you accept it.
Very well.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I with regret will accept that retirement notice, but she's going to be missed.
Motion by Commissioner Kruger. Is there a second?
Second, Mr.
Second by
Chair.
Commissioner
And
Szymanski.
also, thank you, Cindy, for all your many years of service to McLeod County. We will miss you, and we certainly hope that you have a great retirement.
Well, everybody, she's not gone yet, all right? We get her-
Right, so my last day is May 29th. So I'll be here for another 6 months. Two more board meetings.
6 weeks, not 6 months.
6 weeks, yes, 6
I'll
weeks.
take 6 months.
No, 6 weeks, 2 more board meetings.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mr. Chair, the first step to replace our county administrator would be to have a review of the job description and salary range, and I think Sheila ought to head that up in consultation with the board chair, and I'm available if there's anything else that is needed or any input wanted. And then I think there ought to be a report back to the board at its May 7th meeting with the proposal, and that'll get the process started. You're likely looking at somebody coming on board September, October at the earliest.
All right, it's also a workshop topic for today too, so we can iron some of that out. So. All right, back to you, Cindy.
Okay, item D, consider approval of Resolution 19 CB24. This is appointment of an additional committee for McLeod Education and Drug Awareness Committee.
All right, any questions?
Move to approve, Mr. Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pohlmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item E.
Item E, I'm going to hand it over to Commissioner Wright. He's going to talk about this exchange student from Kenya.
So this is probably the first time we've done something like this. So the background on it, last year I gave a tour to some individuals that were visiting from Kenya of the Hutchinson Compost Facility and the McLeod County Recycling Facility, and in their country they have very little of any of that. And from that, when those individuals went back, there's now a student from the University of, and I'll try this word, but Kababi, I believe it is, that would like to come to the U.S. for 8 weeks to take the last phase of this person's education, I guess, in pursuing, I believe it was something to do with resource management. I think it was with focusing more on renewable resources. And they need to be invited to come here. And so I have this on the agenda today. If approved, it would be the invite that would allow this person to be interviewed by the embassy to come here for 8 weeks. We do not have any financial obligation whatsoever. I've talked to Mr. Young about this. To this individual when they get here, other than making the phone calls, which have already been done, to see what different entities they could go and tour and be a part of. So RAM, Recycling Association of Minnesota, is one of them that might be able to spend some time and bring this individual around. But it is not the intention that we would have anything to do with the cost while they're here. They have people in place for that. We are just providing the invitation to come here.
And this is through a program that is it the Moral program?
No, this is, I was just contacted to give a tour, about a year ago, and then when those people went back, then this connection was made, so.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Paul, my concept of an exchange student is they come over here and they live with the host family and so forth, but is the county obligated to house this individual, or do we have to provide a staff person to take them around to various venues?
No, I kind of covered that. That's totally not something that we're involved in whatsoever. We have no finances or time involved in this other than making a few phone calls to open the doors to them to go to their where they're getting kind of their continued education from. Okay. So it's not really an exchange student, more than just providing that completed portion of their degree. So.
Okay. And then this individual would not be doing any work for the county per se?
No. The only thing, this is about the only thing that we'd have today, and actually if we wanted to, I was told there's about a 50-50 chance of this person even being able to come here because of the complications of getting out of that country. However, I think if successful, to have them come back and give a report as to what they saw, definitely would be worth the effort, I think. So, and as the portion in the board packet indicates, it would be kind of during the summer months only. They're looking for that May to August as far as the window. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
So, Mr. Chair, we're looking for a motion to approve the letter.
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Wright,
I'll second it.
second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item F, consider approval of Resolution 19 CB25. This is authorizing a retroactive closing of the county offices due to the winter storms we had this year. So in the resolution, we're actually talking about the February 7th, when we close the courthouse at 11:30, and again on April 11th, when we close the courthouse at noon.
Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of Resolution 19, CB25.
Motion by Commissioner Szymanski. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Polmeyer. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The last two items are notifications. The first notification is a McLeod County workshop to be held on April 29th at 10 a.m. at the McLeod County Fairgrounds, conference room 840, which is off of Century Avenue. And this topic will be long-range planning. The second notification is there will be a workshop following the county board meeting on May 7th here at the Glencoe City Center.
All right, thank you. To our part of our agenda, the open forum. Anyone wish to address the board?
Good morning, Jimbo Beer, Coma Township. I just have a quick question. Is there a public workshop on trails today?
Let me check the agenda, but I don't
Mr.
think
Chair,
so.
I could answer that. No, there is not. They're not on the agenda today.
Do you know when next one is?
I cannot answer that, Jim, right now.
Anyone else wish to address the board? Press relations, anything? Jacob? Looking for a motion to recess until our next board meeting, May 7th, 9 a.m. at the Glencoe City Center.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Wright. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner Szymanski. Any discussion? Hearing none, proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.